please, and attention.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for yesterday. Very nice and hot day with all the equipment out. Today we are here in this wonderful, wonderful house and help us all to take care of it. Today we are doing the escape mostly inside the house, and then after lunch we will go out here and do the arriving and stuff, exterior.
Yeah. That's it. Thanks for your attention and back to the job.
Thank you very much.
The team is a group of 3 detectives from Germany, Belgium and Denmark that have to work together because they have to join forces between the countries. The team behind the camera is more or less the same countries that work together making this co-production happen.
It's a very different way of working, Belgium, Denmark and Germany. And it's a good thing. It's been challenging and it's been really fun to do because every time you start up in a new country, it's a new way of doing things.
It's a united Europe, and I like that fact that we are all coming together and trying to create something as Europeans, which also puts a light on the differences among us. And we all have this common language, and actually we understand each other very well.
There's the professional work, which is meeting every morning and getting ready to shoot and shooting and wrapping. That's basically the same everywhere you go. You need the same elements in order to shoot. So that, I think, is surprisingly identical everywhere you go. But of course you have different ways of working and different ways of communicating on a crew. There were many interesting situations where people had to find out, okay, we don't have any problems here, but we just need to say things an extra time in order for people to understand, okay, this is the way that we do it.
You get a certain amount of realism into the whole thing there. Because, I mean, if you're here on set here, it's like there's so many languages going on. And we do live in that sort of multicultural European sphere at the moment.
I'm used to talk and to play with German actors in my language. You know, I know the system, I know the technique, and I know the cultural things, but coming to Antwerp or coming to Copenhagen is such a big difference. I think it's a very nice mixture of all the cultural energies.
The good thing about it is that all of the people involved are very professional, so it's been educational. We learned a lot from each other, I think, and I'm sure that I'm gonna adapt some of the things I learned in Belgium and Germany.
Okay, first position, please.
Right, please, for shooting. Still to dash, please.
Here we go. And sound. Sound's rolling.
Action!
We filmed in 3 blocks. We go to each country in every block, so we tour around.
The way we are working on this project as a film scene is actually the same conditions as our main characters are working on. They are policemen that are also traveling around Europe. So, you know, in a way you get this mood of always being in movement. You get that right under your own skin.
It's very inspiring to be in a different country to film. You see Berlin not as your home city, but you see all these buildings and streets and people, and you get inspired in a completely different way.
Usually on TV series you make sure to shoot a huge part in studio. And for this show we've done the opposite. Everything is on location, which makes preparation a challenge and difficult. There's a lot of information that you need to keep track of. The overview is always difficult to maintain because you always move around.
A lot of people think that you wait a lot on a film set, then you should try to be in an airport. You know, you really wait a lot. And this we have created into creative time where we take a lot of decisions. And it's very nice to have all these meetings in new surroundings. So it's very good team spirit between the 8 crew members.
The travel itself, after a certain time, is not that special anymore. And what is really nice about the traveling is you have a key crew that is together all the time in every country. And then, of course, in the respective countries you get additional people in. But this key crew was quite large. So the actual work on the set was more or less amongst the same people.
The traveling crew get to know each other very well because, you know, we are taking flights together, we are sitting in minibuses going to and from the locations. We've been staying in all these different cities away from home.
We are such a big team and traveling since a month now, and everybody is really doing their best. So I'm really touched by all these people coming here every day. For me as an actress, it's easy because I can fly back and forth and I have little gaps in between. But the people here every day, I mean, actually they must have been very exhausted, but they still keep the flag.
It's not always happy times with your own family as well. It's the same thing with the film crew. I mean, you go through good and you go through bad times, especially when you work together for a year. I think I've seen more or less every crew member both laugh and cry, because both professionally and privately you go through many things during a year. But that's also what makes you close. Not just experiencing a happy day on set, but experiencing both the good and the bad times and the extreme early calls and the, you know, everything. It really pushes you together whether you want it or not. So we've all been like a forced film family, but yeah, it will be very strange when this suddenly ends and you just find yourself getting up at home in Copenhagen and you don't have to go anywhere and you don't have to meet these people on set. It will be a bit sad. The writers do a lot of research, and I've worked with them before on Unit 1 and the Eagle, so I know them very well, and I just know that everything they write is completely researched through, which is a big help for me, of course.
We do a lot of research, really very much research, and of course you meet a lot of people when you're doing your research and you're talking to people. We met a police officer in Europol, and she said that commodities is a way to power, and people can be commodities. And when she said that, you know, we said, wow. And I think our story started there.
It's about modern slavery. It's about the society today. It's about how do we produce things, how do we use the world, how do we use each other, and how do we abuse each other.
There's an urge to tell about a flaw in society as it is now. And this is a very, very serious thing that we want to use time on.
You read about it every day. And to me it's important to mirror reality, to mirror the time in which we live when I write. And I think it's a very important issue.
You have, you know, human trafficking throughout Europe in a big way. That is the strength of the story, really. That is relevant in these times. Yeah.
I think we've shown that this society where we live the way we do, that it has a cost and that someone pays the price. And I think that it's not that far away from us. And you don't really believe it. You don't really believe that this can happen in Europe, and it happens all around us. It is quite shocking, and we close our eyes to it every day. So yeah, I hope we'll think a little bit about it in our everyday life.
837A, shot 9, take 1.
Action!
When I read the scripts, I always wanted to know what's happening next. I mean, from the beginning on, you think you know who's the murderer. And you go like, it's the kind of series where I know who it is, and I watch the policeman investigating him and find him. But then there is this twist.
The whole crime story and the way it's told and the way the audience experiences it, it's like peeling an onion. You take off a leaf and then there's always something behind.
It's not really an ordinary crime story, like a whodunit. It's more like why done it, or I mean, it's sort of it's so layered that you every time you dig down, there's another layer and another layer, and it just goes deeper and deeper.
We challenged ourselves by, ending one episode where we didn't know how to progress in the next episode, or we suddenly turned the story around and said, what if it's not him? What if it's somebody else who did it to him? And then we wouldn't know what happens in the next 4 episodes, because now we've just changed the whole setup.
I'm going to proceed with a 340. I'm going to start only with Verle and the dog.
And action!
Mike! Right!
Cut!
Yeah, excellent. It has this big scope. There was a different challenge every day. I mean, it was always something with stunts, burning things, car crashes. Yeah, you name it. We had it all.
Every day you come to a new set, so you have to look at it with new eyes and adapt to it. Nothing ever becomes routine, but of course that also pays off on the screen. I mean, it really looks amazing, and you stand there in the middle of huge rock gorge in Austria, and you had to rappel down to get to the bottom to shoot, and it's difficult to get there, and the logistics are hell, but it really pays off when you see it because it looks spectacular.
When you go to the Alps and you stand on top of a 3,000 meters mountain, not skiing but working, you can't complain.
Compared to what I'm used to, it's very expensive. It's action scenes, short scenes with a lot of action, and in Belgium often it's talking heads because otherwise it's too much money.
We had some very, very interesting locations, I think. Pretty much every day we were filming, I was thinking, I feel pretty lucky.
And cut. I just need you for the next scene, sitting in the background. There's a scene that we are actually shooting tomorrow about doing today.
I understand.
Yeah.
So this we're not in, and the next we're in the background. Yes. So then, I won't go home to Denmark.
I think casting is more or less 70% of the movie. So I was traveling a lot to Berlin to see people. We were gathering them there and having casting sessions. And so for all the main character, maybe the 15 biggest character, I meet them and I talk to them and I cast them myself.
Of course, it's always nicer to talk to people and to really be there and try things out between them. But it's not possible for 104 roles to fly thousands of actors in. It's just not possible.
Then we have a new thing that I haven't experienced before, which is the e-casting, which is very interesting because that means that the actors film themselves and send it in. And this is very interesting because it also tells a lot about the actors. What background do they choose? What do they choose to do? How do they choose to tell about themselves?
Cast is always extremely important, but especially for this show where you combine so many countries and cultures, the actors will be the representatives of each culture. So of course it was very important which people were cast and the chemistry between these. So we had an office at Nordisk Film in Copenhagen, and everything ran through there, and you had this run of actors from all over Europe coming in for casting. It was quite exciting.
It's great to film some other faces. I come from a very small country, Denmark, and there's 5 million in the whole country, so of course there's not that many actors and actresses, and if you're working the business for 15 years, you have filmed quite a lot of them.
You meet actors like that with a completely open mind. Because you have no prior knowledge of them, so you just meet them in a completely different way than you will in your home country, because you've seen people in this and you've seen people in that, but you're all fresh, and these actors have been so great.
There's so many great actors in Europe, and we should really use each other in a completely new way than we have done before. And if this will happen, I would be very proud, because that means that we have created a completely new market, which I find very interesting, to tell stories which belongs to Europe.
And cut. Very nice.
Then, thank you. Let's go today. It's a wrap. Thank you.